All right. Well, welcome to the Arete podcast. I'm Grant Allen. I'm the CEO of Arete Sports Performance, and I've got a really exciting guest on today, somebody that I'm really good friends with, somebody that I went to college with, and we played football together and is doing some incredible things. And I'm so excited to have him on because he's going to do some awesome things in his life. And so I've got Nolan Clausen on today. Nolan, how you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we're going to try this for a third time.
Yeah.
We tried last night video conference, and we got interrupted, and then we lost our recording here just a little bit ago. So I feel like it's always good to just be honest and open with people about that stuff. Like, we mess things up. This is not, like, something that anybody can do this. And so, obviously, we're doing an incredible job at it. So
third time's the charm, hopefully.
Exactly. So, Nolan, just real quickly, kind of introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and what you're doing now.
All right. I'm from Ord, Nebraska, town about 2,000, small Class C1 school. I played 3 sports in high school. Decided to continue on, into college and play football and basketball at Nebraska Wesleyan. And then from there, I decided, to go to chiropractic school where I'm at now. I'm in my 3rd year. I'm at Cleveland Chiropractic College in Kansas City. And so that's what I'm doing now. Awesome.
Yeah. We're both from small towns, so I know that really resonates. And a lot of the audience, too, is from small town Nebraska, so I know that resonates with a lot of people. And, you play every single sport, and you're involved in everything. And so was that kind of, I'm sure you had injuries in high school and in college, so was that like an inspiration for you to become a chiropractor, or what was your inspiration behind chiropractic?
Yeah, I think it was my junior year, I had some neck spasms and stuff. And, those are something you can't just get rid of, with a surgery or anything. And the only way that when I would go see a medical doctor that they would try to treat it was with, muscle relaxers or a steroid pack and pain relievers and stuff like that. And I wasn't too thrilled doing that kind of thing, because I was kind of interested in the human body and all that, and that just didn't excite me too much. So I went to a chiropractor, and he was able to help me a lot. Basically got rid of my spasms within a couple of visits. So then on out, any injury I had, I kind of went to him. I had a bunch of ankle sprains, and he was able to adjust and, do some low-level laser and some taping, and it really got me to playing a lot quicker and, feeling a lot better. So that's kind of where I fell in love with it. And then through Wesleyan, we had some guys that came in on, like, Wednesday nights, and they treated us a little bit, and they actually helped me quite a bit. So, yeah, that's really where I fell in love with chiropractic.
That's awesome. And you said you're down in Cleveland, which is in Kansas City?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Did you apply to any other schools, or was that always really the one that you were targeting and wanted to go to that one?
I looked into Logan, which is in St. Louis, a little bit. But really, I'm pretty close with my family, and I didn't feel like being that far away.
Right. Did you look at Palmer, and that's in Davenport, right?
Yeah. So in chiropractic, there's like the mixer versus the straight kind of terms. Straight is more like your traditional chiropractic, and where they, only adjust. And I was really interested in doing muscle work and, treating functional ways. And I knew Cleveland had a little bit of that. And so really I picked Cleveland over Palmer for that reason. And then I just wanted to be close to home, so I could just drive in one day and see my family.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you talked about being a student athlete and really how you kind of played everything in high school, and then that really translated into college. You know, you played football and basketball in college, which is almost unheard of nowadays, especially with kids specializing in sports. And so just touch on that a little bit and how that helped you academically and how that helped you as a person.
Yeah, so I've always been like a believer that, you know, in high school you do all these, especially if you're from a small town, you do all these sports and you're always busy and stuff. And going to college, you know, people that don't do sports or whatever, they have all this time, and I knew all that time could get me into trouble.
Oh, not you.
Yeah. You know, you get a little bit more freedom, and you know, all things could break loose and stuff. And so I knew that going to college, I really wanted to compete. I didn't care what level it was. Obviously, you want to go to those bigger levels, but, you know, when it comes down to it, you got to think about education too. And Wesleyan was the place that was going to allow me to, you know, compete at the college level in both the sports and get a quality education. I know, like, when I applied to Wesleyan, I had already made up my mind that I was going to be a chiropractor, you know, and I knew that Wesleyan had like a 98% acceptance rate into grad schools, and that was a huge contributing factor, you know. It wasn't because I got a full ride scholarship or anything to Wesleyan, because that's, you know, that's, no.
Yeah. Unless you're like incredibly smart, so.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we're no dummies, but it's
we also have lives.
Right,
you know.
right. So, you recently got married, which is very exciting.
Yep.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit, and talk about how you're balancing that, because, like you said, that type of schedule and that intensive a study schedule, and then also
losing you a little bit. Say something about schedules.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, we almost lost each other there. So.
Yeah, I think I understand kind of what you're asking.
Yeah. Bridging that gap between being a husband and having a crazy study schedule and whatnot. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so first thing you have to realize is, you know, I live chiropractic, or the chiropractic world, pretty much 18 hours of the day. You know, it's a crazy amount, and I got to realize that, you know, I live in an actual world, not just a chiropractic world. So you got to realize that she doesn't want to hear about all that stuff all the time.
Right.
And she gets real annoyed at me because that's kind of all I talk about, and she has no idea what I'm talking about most of the time. So that's the first thing. You know, you got to realize that not everybody wants to just talk about what you do all the time. So listening to what they do, or you know, choosing other things to talk about is one of the big keys to our marriage. And then with the scheduling stuff and balancing that, like we were talking earlier, he asked like how I handle with the schedule. Do I write it down and stuff? And I said before, you know, I'm really good at memorizing stuff like that. But when you have somebody else in your life, you can't just memorize stuff. You got to write it down for them so that they know what's going on in your life. So that was a big adjustment. So doing that has helped a lot. And also writing stuff down, you know, right now I'm treating patients actually in our clinic. So, you know, I got to make sure I do have them on the schedule or write them down so that I know who's coming in and that I know for sure that I told them or whatnot, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But
writing it down is obviously a huge thing. It's totally proven by research that writing things down is better than, putting it in your phone or just memorizing it, obviously. And so obviously that's a huge part, and you're seeing a positive effect from that as well. I think on a daily basis, a lot of people kind of get caught up in just the daily of it, where everybody's busy, right? Everybody's so busy, and it's like, well, busy I don't think is necessarily a badge of honor. You know what I mean? Everybody's really wanting to say that, oh, I'm so busy, I can't do this. Well, are you busy or are you effective? You know what I mean? I think it's so much better to be effective and have everything planned out than to just say, well, in blanket term everything and just say that you're busy. Well, we're all busy. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a part of life. If you're not, I truly feel bad for the people who aren't busy, because it's not that exciting of a life, right? It's a lot more exciting when you're flying around and you're having a lot of things going on, a lot of things thrown at you, because that's kind of the spice of life, right? And
very true.
Yeah, so I think it's so much better to say that, yes, I'm busy, but I'm very effective in the act of being busy. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that was kind of another deciding reason of going to Wesleyan and playing sports. I'm more effective when I'm busy and I got things going on. If I start relaxing a little bit and sit and watch TV for another 3 hours, I'm lazy the rest of the day.
Right.
If I have
then
things
you're able
going
to
on,
make an excuse up in your head too. Well, it's like, well, I guess I've been lazy, so I'll just keep it going. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get it done, and so it's not gonna get done. Instead of being like, well, I'll get this stuff done, and then I'll be able to relax and hang out with the wife or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we had talked about this last week, but your business plan that we talked about, which I don't want to release it. You don't have to release everything. You know what I mean? I think it's super exciting and it's really interesting, and I know people would want to hear about it, because I think truly, as a whole, the strength and conditioning field, or health and wellness, whatever it may be, tends to put down the chiropractic industry. And I think that because chiropractors are so effective, that we need to bridge that gap. We have to bridge that gap somehow, and you've got a great idea on how to do that. So if you want to, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to release everything, but if you want to talk about that briefly and kind of talk about what you're thinking, I know a lot of people will be very excited about it.
Yeah. First off, it's not my idea. It's kind of something that has been in my mind, and then it was introduced, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I've never had an original thought in my mind. That's a quote from one of my favorite chiropractors out there right now. He takes things from everybody. He learns from everybody, and that's one of the best things he could do. But anyways, so chiropractic, it's viewed in a pretty, we're out there for people, and it's, it's either really great for people or we are quacks,
Right.
They call us quackopractors and all that stuff. And it's deserved.
I'm sure you love.
I hate it, but
yeah.
it is deserved. There are a lot of chiropractors out there that are just taking advantage of people, just treating people 3 times a week for the rest of their lives,
Right.
Not actually looking at problems that they need fixed, that the patient needs, or taking the patient's best interest. And that's really what grinds my gears, honestly, and drives my passion for how I want to be. So the best way I see it is you combine chiropractic with functional rehab things. And so what I would do in my business, it's called a clinic gym. There's a guy out in Vegas that started this whole thing, and now he's got a consulting service with it. But what he does is he has a chiropractic clinic, and then he runs group fitness exercise with his patients when they reach a certain level of care. And so you have those two things all in the same building at the same time going on. So you have like a personal trainer or strength and conditioning, somebody that's very well versed in functional training or trying to get patients back into the weight room. So then you can combine that. Also, it's good for business because you can always have your doors open while you're, you know, not necessarily treating patients, but somebody's, you know, training a group of people at the same time.
Right. Right. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I think that's awesome. And, you know, basically how anything else is, you're going to have terrible people, right? Like, you're going to have terrible chiropractors. And I know a lot of really bad strength coaches, you know what I mean, that literally have their best interest in mind, or, you know, and they're not thinking about the individual. And so, you know, it's so tough when you talk to a strength coach, because it's a very ego-filled field. I mean, it just is, you know, and everybody wants, and you touched on that a little bit, where everybody wants to be original. Well, a lot of the stuff is done for us already, you know what I mean? So taking bits and pieces from other people's things is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you a bad strength coach. It wouldn't make you a bad chiropractor. It means that you're a learner and that you're willing to, you know, see what's good and what's bad. I think what it comes down to is that the individual then has to, you know, whether it be the chiropractor or the strength coach or personal trainer, whatever it may be, has to take all the bits and pieces and put them together and say, okay, how can I make this applicable?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at certain times you can have too many things as well. You know, so it's kind of a double-edged sword where you have to figure out what works best for you in a practical stance. Because, look, I'll be honest, man, what we did at Minnesota was different from what we did at TCU. And what we did at TCU was different from what we did at Exos. And what we did at Exos was different than it was at Northwest, simply off of just the outlay of it, the athletes that we had. You know, at Exos we were training NFL guys. Well, theirs is going to be a little bit more sport-specific and specific to their goals, because they're paying however much money a month, which is an astronomical number. You know, they can afford it too. But, you know, when you look at an athlete as a whole or an individual as a whole, it's really pretty basic. And that's where, you know, we talked about this a few weeks ago, where it's not all that crazy. You don't have to come up with all these crazy new exercises. You really need to teach just basic, like you said, functional movement. And I think, and we also talked about this, we were really on the same page the other day, now that I'm really thinking about it. But, you know, I think the term functional training has really, it was kind of a huge, like, booming, like, blanket term that would sell memberships a few years ago. And I think that when we discussed it, functional training isn't necessarily, you know, single leg contralateral RDLs. Those do have their place. You know what I mean? Those do have their place, and it's a fantastic movement. It's one of my favorite movements. But at the end of the day, like, can you get somebody to squat down to parallel, not a half squat, you know what I mean? And can you get somebody to do a push-up correctly? There's people that can't do a push-up correctly. They think they're doing it correctly, but they're not activating their core. They're not activating their glutes, whatever it may be. And so it's very basic, but I think people lose sight of the actual goal because they want to be original. They want to sell their product or whatever it may be. And it's like, look, the only thing that hasn't changed since the beginning of time in strength conditioning in exercise as a whole is a barbell still weighs 45 pounds, and the energy systems are pretty much the same. Nothing else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think, you know, functional training it was a huge term, right when I started out in that. And so, but it got lost in the fact of, like, okay, well, we need to do, you know, we can't lift heavy, and we have to do these certain things. And so, but that's not right. You know what I mean? You lift heavy to get stronger, to build around those joints, and to build that tissue around you so you're stronger and healthier. And so, I don't know, man. That was just like one of the things over the last however many years I've been doing this that it really frustrated me, because everybody wanted to use that term, and then they weren't being functional at all. They were just being stupid.
Yeah.
So Yeah, and I'm sure that's the same with you when you saw a lot of chiropractors, because a lot of chiropractors, I'm sure, are wanting to, do their own original thing and come up with the next new thing. And it's like, dude, it's already done. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's already done. So
Yeah.
just be effective rather than try and come up with something that's going to make you money, you know what I mean? And then build your relationships and build, loyalty, and the money will come with you. So.
Yep. And that's one of my things with this clinic gym, I'm not necessarily like a great program writer, or I'm not ready to, lead people through group fitness. I think I could do it, but I'm not the best at it. I'm not the greatest at motivating people. So that's why I would have somebody else do that for me, whereas I can focus all my energy on, getting people out of that pain, or getting people to improve different things that need to be improved to help them,
Right. Well, I'm not a chiropractor. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's like you stay in your lane, you do what you got to do, and then the communication side of it and how you guys mold is the biggest thing. So, you've been successful in a lot of different areas, whether that be chiropractic, whether that be, like I said, you were a very good athlete, so I don't know why you're putting yourself down, but you've been successful in a number of different areas. So as you've grown from, we talked about that last night, from the 18-year-old arrogant, kid that comes in and thinks he knows everything. I mean, we're all like that, so it's not just you. But, how have you grown, and what does success mean to you with the growth that you've had?
So one of the first things, there is no secret, to being successful. Everybody's looking for that one tidbit that's just going to make them motivated or successful. I find like the biggest thing is you just got to get it done. Like, you got to get shit done. That's the biggest thing. But what success means to me, really, is whatever you're doing, whatever career you have, or whatever job that you are doing, is whoever is receiving what you're doing, your customer, are you making an impact on them? Are you providing something for them that is lasting and impressionable? I think that's what's successful. That's what drives me. That's what I'm so excited about treating patients for. Is I can't wait to give somebody something else and provide care for them. And the other thing is not becoming your career. Like, it's so easy to just get caught up, like, when somebody asks you, like, who are you? And if you're just like, yeah, I'm a chiropractor, and, like, I do this and this and that, and, it's easy to get caught up in yourself. Well, honestly, are you, like, what would happen if you weren't, like, if you lost your job or if you lost your business, like, what are you then? You got to find value in yourself, and you got to find the value in what you're doing. Why are you doing it? So, like, having the passion to affect people rather than not having the passion to be a chiropractor. I think that's a lot of people get caught up in that, like, yeah, I'm so passionate. I'm really passionate about strength and conditioning, Yeah, you can be passionate about it, but that's not you. That's not your passion. Your passion is to make an effect on somebody using this alley. Right.
And I think that's so good. And, while you were saying that, I thought that was a great point, was one of the coolest moments, and I was so fortunate to be a part of this moment, but, the night before the national championship at Northwest Missouri State, when we won the national title 2 years ago, we were in the hotel, and the head coach, there had been speculation that he was going to be going to a different school. And so he had gotten emotional, and, we talked about the game plan, very focused, everybody's ready to go. And, he gets a little bit emotional at the end, and he says, tomorrow isn't going to define you. And he said, yes, you're a Northwest Missouri State football player, but someday you're going to be a father, someday you're going to be a husband, and you're always going to be a friend of someone, or a brother, or whatever, or a son. And those are the things that you should allow to define you. how you are to people, how you are to everybody around you, and what you do to impact people and change the world. I mean, really, like, change the world. And so I thought that was such a good point, you know, where these kids are going into the biggest game of their entire life up to that point, you know, and all they're thinking about is, you know, are we going to win? Are we going to win? Are we going to win? And he's saying, like, no, dude, like, this isn't going to define you. And I thought that was so powerful because it took all of the stress off of the game and put it onto the details of how are you going to go through life as a person, you know. And that's, again, we relate it back to how powerful being a part of a team is and the lessons that are brought from athletics. And that was just such a cool moment, and I thought you hit it on the head too there. So real quick, this is my last question, and I actually didn't put it down when I sent it to you. But if you could put on your dream concert, all right, and you get 3 bands, and you can have any band in the entire world, and you could bring a band back from the dead, like you could bring back original Beatles, just as an example. All right, you get to put on your dream concert. What 3 bands are you choosing?
Man, this is tough. I'm not, you know,
dude,
I'm not
it's
huge into music.
So hard.
Well, you know, for partying and stuff, I really always liked Blink 182.
Yeah,
you know, just
to
get me going. I still listen to some of the Tech Nine stuff and.
Well, you're in Kansas City. You have to.
Yeah. Tech Nine, you know.
It's in your blood now.
He gets me going. So, man, that is hard. I can't really answer that one. I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah, dude. It's honestly, I mean, you're married now, but it's a great date question.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you learn a lot about somebody when they tell you their taste in music. And so I love that one. It's a great lead-off question for sure.
It is a good one.
It's an icebreaker for sure. Maybe I should start asking that one in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, Nolan, man, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for your patience. I know it was kind of a head scratcher on what we were doing wrong and figuring out, but we got it done. And I appreciate so much for you taking the time. I know you're a busy dude, so tell Darian hi, and dude, I'm so excited to see what you end up doing. It's going to be fantastic. So,
yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Awesome, man. Well, we will talk to you later.
All right.
All right, we'll see you.